So, Roman,
Yes.
let's talk about your life and the impact you've been able to make in a short time here in Vancouver. The time when you arrived here in Canada, why you came to Canada, and then what happened afterwards. Just start sharing your life story in your words.
Well, I came to Canada pretty much.
Oh, no way!
Before you guys do anything, I'll show you the view.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow.
So come on in.
Wow.
So from here, the reason I moved from 5th.
Life story in your words.
Well, I came to Canada pretty much as a refugee. And the reason I came to Canada is because I used to live in the US, and there was an executive order passed in 2017 by the Trump administration that basically dictated that ICE can indefinitely hold and detain anybody that was not a citizen. So when my court hearing was up, I realized I had three options. Either go to jail and fight my case from within jail, because it was a business. Number two is go into hiding. Or number three was come into a different country. So I chose to just pick up a backpack, a couple $100 in my pocket, close to a little over $1,000. And I came into Canada, crossed the border on foot from the border Blaine into Surrey.
Blaine, Washington.
Blaine, Washington.
Okay.
There's actually a very funny place called Smugglers Inn Hotels where I stayed.
On the Canadian or
On the US side.
On the US
it's
side.
called Smugglers, and if you Google it right now, he's going through a lot of shit because apparently he was telling people how to go across to Canada.
Wow.
But Avenue O, basically sat there for a few days, transferred everything that I had to family, took a couple $100 or over $1,000, and I came into Canada.
All whatever you had asset wise, you put in somebody else's name.
Correct.
Family,
I pretty much gave
otherwise.
away the family and everything.
You crossed the border. What happened when you came into Canada? Now you're coming into Canada not like somebody crossing the border and showing a passport or anything like that.
Nope.
You're walking across.
Avenue
because
O.
You felt you didn't have an option.
Nope. This was a better option. 50% gamble.
Did you know what would happen to you when you arrived in Canada?
Absolutely not.
What happened?
No idea. I came in, I crossed Avenue O, took a right on Avenue O, went down to whatever the next street is, made a left, walked for a few blocks, and there was an RCMP officer driving down. Apparently somebody called the cops. And I saw the RCMP officer. It was a Canadian Asian gentleman. I still remember, I won't say his name. And he pulled over next to me, and I said, "Hi, how are you doing?" He's like, "Great." And his first sentence was, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Going for a stroll." His next question was, "Where are you coming from?" And I said, "From US." And he looked at me, he goes, "Do you know what I have to do?" I'm like, "Yep, I know exactly what you have to do. I'm not gonna fight you. Here's my hands." Put my hands down. Arrested me. Was very gentle with me. Like, did not try to struggle me, did not try to fight me, did not like put handcuffs. After he put handcuffs on me, RCMP officer, throughout the time when we're driving, he checked up on me to make sure the handcuffs were not tight.
So he did put handcuffs on
Oh
you.
yeah, of course. He put handcuffs behind you,
Put you in the back.
pat me down,
And put you in the back of the car
put me in the back of the car.
and took you where?
So he drove from Surrey all the way to Burnaby, which later I found out was the Shadwell Center. There's a detention center there.
For people that come into Canada illegally?
No, this is just an RCMP detention center. It has nothing
Holding-
to do with
holding
Just a
area.
holding, because When you come into Canada as a refugee, RCMP, VPD, whatever, well, not VPD, but RCMP has to turn you over to immigration.
Okay.
So at the time I came in, they couldn't coordinate with immigration, so they had to hold me.
Okay.
So the closest place they can hold me was Burnaby by Shadbolt Center. I went there, spent a night there, the pat down.
Is it like a prison?
It's a prison.
It's a jail cell.
It's a jail cell.
And when you went there, you told your story about.
No, you don't tell your story.
Nothing.
Basically, you told the officer that you're claiming asylum,
Okay.
and their job is strictly to just pat you down, make sure you have no weapons, take your
Okay.
IDs, everything from you, separate you from your IDs and everything, whatever you have, your possessions and everything, put you in a handcuff and turn you to immigration. Your IDs and everything goes separate, your belongings go separate. So the first night I spent in Burnaby.
In a cell.
In a cell.
By yourself?
Yes. I believe I was by myself, yes.
Safe?
Yeah, I was fine.
Were you afraid?
I know everybody's scared, but I think my background, with as much stuff as I've gone through in my life, is unknown, right? When you go into prison, you have no idea what's happening because you basically surrender yourself. You have at that time no power. See, the problem is that we all are so scared of giving away power. I'm at a point where I have a problem giving away power. Giving away power, giving away love, giving away things, not having belongings. I literally don't have the fear anymore.
People, many of whom had experienced maybe some time in prison, time in jail. You could identify a little bit of what it was like for them later, but you didn't know then what you were going to be doing in the short run, right? You spent that night, and then what happened after that?
At that time when I came into Canada, Denny, I had given up a 20-plus-year-old life in US. I have given up on my first love, who I left behind. I left my family behind. I left the business behind. I left a very successful company called Long Beach Volleyball behind, which was one of the major volleyball company. A production studio twice as big as where you're sitting right now. Twice as big. Multiple contracts, a mortgage banking job, an underwriting job, a contract to be a realtor. I had given up so much. I had no idea what was going to happen to me.
But you felt this was your only choice, or
I knew that was my only choice because I had already seen people disappearing. I had already seen people go to jail and not come back. Prior to going into my court hearing, I'd observed people go inside and not come outside. I had personally known people that were sitting inside for 2-3 years and they had no idea what was going to happen to them. No phone calls, no bills. No.
Maybe we're going to talk about why you arrived at that place in your life, how that happened.
Absolutely, we can go back and revisit it.
But now we want to just talk about the post-Canada and the lives that have been changed by a life, yours, that was changed.
Yep.
So after that first night in that holding facility in Burnaby, what happened?
So I was in the holding facility in Burnaby the first night, and then just waiting. Next morning, 2 gentlemen. One was from Fiji, super nice guy, and I think the other one was also Fijian, but I didn't really talk to him. He was very laid back. They came in the morning. They pat me down, put me in a jumpsuit, handcuffs, belt, shackles, feet, everything, the whole 9 years. And the guy's like, I have to transport you that way.
Wow.
So
Like a hardened criminal.
Like a hardened criminal, because they had no idea, no background was ran on me. Nothing was ran on me. As cooperators, they had no idea whether I was a serial killer, a murderer. I could have been anybody. So handcuffs tied to the waist around, feet, shackles, everything. Put me in a van, which I barely could get into because my feet was literally tied up closer. And they put me in a van and they took me to 300 West Georgia Street in downtown Vancouver. I had no idea where I was going, by the way. I found all this later because at that time when I'm being transported to Burnaby, there's a little window and you just see. But I remember seeing my first time the bridge that goes over and the science world and the stadium from the side. And then later on I connected it. They took me in and into a van, and they drove me down that bridge. And I remember from the little window, I remember seeing Science World, which I found out later what it was. I had no idea what Science World was.
The ball.
The ball.
Big ball.
I just saw that ball, and later when, in my life, when this was all over, I went back and I realized what that was. I remember seeing the stadium, which I later learned what it was. Anyway, they took me down the bridge that goes up, made a left, went into Georgia, went downstairs, took me all the way up, don't remember the floor. Took me in, and there was a holding cell there.